Okay guys, and welcome back. So now we're going to be looking at materials and how to add materials. So if we just come and have a look in our outliner again, you can see we've got the cube, which we've currently got selected, and that is our tree trunk. And then you can see we've got each individual group of leaves. So I'm just going to rename these. So I'm just going to double click on my cube and call that tree trunk, and then I'm just going to name my leaves leaves 01, leaves 02, and so on. Okay, so once you've finished naming all of your parts of your tree, I'm just going to select the tree trunk, and first of all I'm going to hide all of these top leaves. So instead of moving them onto another layer individually, which would be really time consuming and annoying, I want them to stay on this layer, but I want them to be sort of out the way while I'm doing stuff. So I'm just going to select all of those, and I'm just going to press H, and you'll see that they've disappeared. And if I press Alt H, they'll come back. So that's how you hide things from your layers. Also, you can look to see if things are hidden. So if you've lost something for whatever reason, and you want to make sure that if it's still in the scene, you can have a look at these little eye icons next to your various models. And if it's greyed out like this, then it's not in the scene. So you can just turn that back on by clicking on that. So I'm just going to leave mine hidden, and I'm going to select my tree trunk, and now we're going to add a material to this tree trunk. So we're going to come over to our materials tab in our properties menu, which is the little sphere icon, and we're going to open up this. Now what we need to do is we need to add a materials placeholder for each material we apply. So we just click on this plus icon, and you can see it's opened up this slot for us, and now we need to add a material into that slot. So if you just come down to here where it says new and click on that, and then that will open our material options. So if we just click on this colour under diffuse, this white box, it will bring up our colour picker, and then we can choose a brown colour, and if you take it all the way to white, you'll see that these colours are visible, and if you put it all the way down, you'll see it goes to black. So this is kind of the brightness of your colours. So if you wanted to put a black material on something, you just take that bar right down to the bottom, and then you can choose black. So I'm going to go for a dark brown, so something like that, and there we go, that's our first material applied. So now we need to bring back in our leaves, so let's just Alt H to bring all the leaves back, and then I'm going to add a new material slot, and I'm going to add a new material, and I'm going to make this a dark green, and then I'm just going to go through and do the same with each one of these blobs. So I'm going to add a new material, and I'm going to go for a nice red colour on that one, and same on this one, new material slot, new material, So that's all my materials added. So now if I wanted to change these materials, I could just select one of them and then I could change the colour in here. So if I wanted it to be the same colour as this though, it'd be quite difficult if I was going to do that manually or have to take the hex from one and put it in, and that might take a bit of time. So what you can do is you can drop down this materials menu and it'll show you all of the materials that you currently have used. So I can put material 2 on that one and you can see it's changed that to be the same colour. So I'm actually going to make all of these, let's make them red. So if we just go through, select which ones we want. So now all of those are red. Another thing you can do is if we hop over into edit mode, so tab into edit mode, you can see that now we've got these faces. So if we just select a few of these faces, we can now actually change the material of just those faces that we've selected. So we've currently got this material assigned, so I'm just going to name this material to leaf red, and then I'm going to add in a new material slot, and I'm going to add in a new material, and I'm just going to make this a really bright blue so we can see what's going on, and I'm going to call that blue. And then I'm going to click assign, and you can see that it's now changed those to that blue colour. So we can also do this on the trunk. So if we go back into edit mode and we select the trunk and then go into edit mode, you can see that you can now select some faces on our tree trunk. And then we can do the same thing. So I'm going to name this material as well, and I'm going to call it tree trunk. I'm going to add a new slot, add a new material, and I'm just going to change that to pink. I'm going to call that pink, and then click assign, and then you can see that it's now change those faces to pink. So that's pretty horrible, so I'm going to set my whole model back to being brown on a tree trunk, and then I'm going to just set this back to being red as well. If you want to delete a material, so if I had this material I didn't want to use it anymore, I could delete it from this side menu, and it says unable to remove material in edit mode, so we need to be in object mode for this. So come back into object mode and then just click minus, and then that's deleted out that material. I'm just going to do the same with the pink as well because I'm not using it. So there we have our tree with some basic materials applied. So have a play around with yours. Put up some screenshots of what you turn out with. Okay, so we've added all the materials to our tree. And now, if you have a look, at the moment we can actually move each individual part of our tree model independently of the other one. So I'm just going to put that one back there. So what we want to do is we want this to be one whole model. We don't want it to be in individual parts. So if we just select all of our parts. So if you just select one and then hold down Shift and select all of the others, so we've got all of our tree parts selected, and then if you press Ctrl J, that is your join. So now it's joined all of those parts together. So now you can see in object mode it's got the outline all around the entire model, and if you have a look in your outliner you can now see that it's just collapsed it down into one model, which is now called tree trunk. So I'm just going to rename that tree, and you can also see that in the materials tab we've got the red leaf material and we've got the tree trunk material. So we can still go in and change the colours of these. So if I wanted to change the leaf colour, so I'll select my leaf colour in my materials tab, come down to the diffuse colour, and I'm going to make it a sort of pinkish colour. So then you can see that that's instantly changed the colour of that model in our 3D view. So you can also do the same with the tree trunk. You can just change the colour to whatever you want it to be, and then that's also changed that. So let's hop over to our buildings. So we need to go to our second layer where our buildings are, and I'm just going to hide this one and I'm going to work on this one. So now we want to apply some materials to this building. So we're going to do this in a slightly different mode. So we're going to hop into Cycles Render. So at the top on your information bar you've got this box here which currently says Blender Render, which is Blender's default rendering mode. So if you just open that up and go to Cycles Render, you'll see that now our materials window has changed a little bit. So if we just select Use Nodes, that'll open up some extra options for us, and we'll be looking at nodes a bit later on when we've made our landscape, but for now we're just going to put some basic colours on this. So I'm going to hop over into edit mode, and I'm going to select all of my model, and I'm just going to apply a material. So you can see we've already got a material slot assigned here. So if I come down to the colour, I'm just going to select a grey colour, and you can see currently at the moment, even though we've applied that material, you can't actually see any change. This is because we're using Cycles Render. So to see any changes in the Cycles Render, we need to change our viewport. So if you come down to your viewport menu, which is this little icon by your mode menu at the bottom of your 3D view, and if you come up to the top you'll see rendered. So now you can see that that material has actually been applied. So this is how you check to see what colour your materials are when you're using Cycles Render. So we just pop that back to solid mode. Now I want to select each one of these windows, so I'm just gonna go through and individually select each face. That's the inside face of my window, and I'm going to do these ones on the side, and these across here, so just make sure you've got all of your windows selected. And now we're going to add an emissive material to these windows. So this is going to mean that these are going to be giving off light as if there was lights on inside this building. So to do that we need to add a new material slot. So plus button to add a new material, and then click new to get the new material up. and then we're going to use this drop down box. So where it says surface, if you click on that, you'll get a list of various different shaders that you can use. So we want to go for the emission shader and select that. And then I'm just going to change mine to a yellow. And then I'm also going to name my materials. So I'm going to call this building 01. And I'm going to call this window 01. And then I'm just going to click assign. And now if we go back into our rendered view, you will see that now the windows are actually giving off light. So you can see the light reflected in the sort of windowsills, which is great. So I'm just going to hop back into solid mode, and I want my main building colour to be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to select my building colour in the materials tab, and I'm just going to go to diffuse colour, and I'm going to make it a bit lighter. So something around there will be great. So now I want these roof sections to be a darker colour, so I'm just going to select these using my loop select. So Alt and click, right click to select a loop select, and then Alt Shift and right click to select multiple loops. And then these ones down here. So once you've got all your roof selected, we're now going to add a new material. So add a new material slot, add a new material. I'm going to call this roof 01, and then we're going to change that colour to a dark grey. So I've selected my roof colour, and I'm just going to click assign, and then now if we hop back into rendered mode, you'll see that our roof is a different colour to our building. So in rendered mode it's really useful because this allows you to have a look and see what your materials look like in your final render. So if you wanted to be able to edit your materials and also see the colours at the same time, you can use material mode. So if we go into the material mode, you can see that now we can see the colours that have been applied. So we've got our yellow on our windows, and you can also see that we've got the darker colour for our roof sections. And then we can also still in edit mode use select various different faces if we wanted to change the colour of anything. So I'm quite happy with that building, so I'm going to leave that one like that, and I'm just going to bring back in my other building. So if I just come back into object mode, and then I'm going to Alt H to bring back in my other building, and then I'm going to select my first building and H to hide. So now we have our second building. So I'm just going to hop into edit mode, and I'm going to assign a new material. So assign a new material slot, add a new material, and then I'm going to choose building 01, and you can see that that's turned that grey. And then I'm going to select my windows, and I'm going to set my door as well, and then I'm going to assign a new material, so new material slot and new material, and then I'm going to select window and click assign, and then there you can see that now we've got our illuminated windows. And I'm just going to do the roof, so just select all the parts of the roof, and then new material slot, new material, and I'm going to set this to be a sort of brick red colour. Something like that. And then I'm just going to call this roof 02, and then I click assign, and then there you can see now we've coloured our roof as well. So if we just have a look at see what that looks like in rendered mode. Now you can see that it's quite dark on the roof and we're not really getting any shadows. This is because currently we don't have any lights in this scene, so we'll be looking at lighting later in a later video, so we'll show you some different lighting techniques, but for now we're just gonna leave that like this, and then in the next video we'll be making the landscape that we're going to put all of our different models into. So see you guys in the next video.